All right, man. I am live with Spencer Scott, who recently acquired a SaaS company, Alpha Microacquire, for six figures. I believe it was in the quarter million range. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Slightly north.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me on this podcast. I really appreciate it. To kick things off, do you want to just give a background on yourself and also maybe a little bit about the company that you acquired?
Yeah. I don't know how far to go back, but
Just get you can give me the 5 second
the
version
five
or
second.
the
All
or
right.
the hour version, whichever one you like
I'll
more.
do the crash course one, and then if you have questions, I can answer them. But the long and short of it was I was a door-to-door sales guy at a telecom company. I made President's Club, went to Vonage. So I went from there to Vonage, climbed the ladder at Vonage, got into enterprise. They call it software sales because everything Vonage has is software. And I was a sales guy, and I had a customer come in who was like 14,000 users, and they needed like this really niche software product that Vonage didn't have. And so I hired a team in India and I built it and then sold the customer at Vonage. And then I was like, I have a platform here. I should be able to sell this to other people. So I left Vonage thinking I could start a software company, and kind of quickly realized like it doesn't work like that. Like you should probably have some income. So I took a consulting job for MSP, which is like a managed service provider, and for 3 years. So I ended up being like their director of sales, and it was a six-figure position, or it turned into a six-figure position. It was commission based, so I did pretty well
What
there.
were what were the deal sizes? Was it I come from a sales background too of I've done SMB high velocity, which is super fun. Have you ever done SMB sales?
Yeah, my whole life was SMB sales, but the high velocity thing, you lost me at.
Well, like you close a deal every day.
Oh no, 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 no.
No, yeah, that those roles are fun, but they don't pay as well as say mid market or like enterprise. Were you mid market or enterprise at Vonage?
No, so I started off SMB. Like when I got to Vonage, I was like, sweet, I made it at a big company. I don't have to door knock anymore. So I'm in Dallas, and I'm not kidding you. When I was like early on, I they basically said if you have nothing to do, meaning like you have like no leads or calls, anything scheduled, they wanted you to go door knock. So I would join like networking
So
groups.
you went
I'm
door
not
to
kidding.
door?
I hit every listen, if you're listening to this and you're in Dallas, I for sure was in your building and I for sure knocked your door.
Wait,
And
okay, I got a question. What was like maybe like the like okay, you've knocked on a ton of doors. What do you have like
yeah,
a good story of like
oh, a
someone?
billion.
Let me hear a good one.
So here's how the trick, if you're doing the focus is to hit a tower building, right? Because you're wearing a suit, you want to be in the AC and you can hit a bunch of businesses at once. If you hit like
I
a,
love that AC.
if
It's
you, I mean, it's
smart.
Dallas.
It's the little parts that
Yeah.
count.
Oh, come on. Okay. There's a lot more to that. Like your shoes count. Like everything counts. And here's what you do. Like the big buildings, you got to get a little more creative than like the shopping centers. Also, bigger businesses are in the big buildings. In the shopping centers, not, I mean, you're gonna destroy your shoes. You're gonna sweat your butt off for like small commission deals. So
So
you get
30
in,
30 minutes in, you're just sweating and
dude. Yeah, you don't do the shopping centers.
you walk into the fifth place and you're just drenched
Yeah, and you're
with
wearing a suit, so you're trying to look nice. And by the way, like your shoes are destroyed. Like I was wearing really nice shoes. So
sorry about
when
your
you,
shoes.
yeah, RIP the shoes. So anyways, when you hit a tall building, you hit the elevator button, you go to the very top because, or as high as you can get, and you've got to kind of evade the security. So like the front desk is there to make sure people don't door knock. Like they normally have like an on-staff security person, and they're like watching the cameras, which are also in the elevators. So if they see somebody going up and down and they see the elevator going ding 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 ding, ding, they like catch on and they'll come get you. And I've been caught many times. But
What do they do when they catch you? Just
they
kick you
just
out?
tell you to leave, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you play this game like, oh no, I was just
Tell
on the
me,
wrong floor.
let's fast forward to like the nicest because that door to door sales, huge respect. That is
It
the
sucked.
hardest sales role. Well, what was like maybe like the nicest deal you closed, like door to door? Like,
Oh man, there's a handful of ones. The nicest, there was like, I mean, a lot of the times people respect your hustle. So like, I was like, if you can find somebody that will agree to door sales, which I didn't agree, I got the job, and then they said, by the way, this is door to door. Like it was a bait and switch scenario. A lot of people try to hire you. Like they're like, if this guy's willing to do this, and so like you get to the end decision maker to pitch them, and then they're like reverse pitching you to come work there. They're like, so how much do you make? And they get into that. The best deal was probably a mortgage company, and I was selling VoIP, so it was phones, and they had multiple locations. So it was like the way we did business was we billed monthly, so it was like I think it was like 8 grand a month, and then
nice.
it was a 36-month contract. So it was
3 year con, not bad.
yeah, and that was through the door knocking, and then it's like a dance, man. You would like try
I
and
I always so when I was hiring at business apps, I would always specifically look for people who had did you enjoy the job?
uh
I mean,
yeah, I mean I
it was
liked
probably
it.
not your dream job.
Yeah, I mean no one signs up and they're like, I want to do door-to-door sales. I liked here's what I liked. It was different every single day. I'm a, believe it or not, somewhat easy guy to please in the sense that like I was in somewhere new, doing something different, like trying to get past new people every single day. So I liked that. Obviously, like the sweating and getting kicked out of buildings and dealing with rejection.
Yeah, I personally love sales. I love like you get a lead and then I don't know how advanced you were with your process, but like you get someone in, they're an opportunity, and then you put a percentage on that opportunity, and then like you're just kind of like, and then you commit that deal to, I don't know if you did like pipeline commits or
Oh
like
yeah, oh
with your
yeah, oh
VP.
yeah.
Oh yeah, like,
Monthly, we had weekly meetings. What do you think's gonna
oh man,
close? 8 a.m.
the
You have the meeting. Oh yeah,
when I would do pipeline reviews with the teams I was managing, like half the time it was like, is this
bullshit.
is this really gonna
Yeah,
close?
yeah, yeah.
Are you sure?
It's so hard to tell, and like there's variables that you can look for, but like sometimes I mean, sales guys are trying to hang on to their head while also bringing the business deals because like they carry like for me it was a monthly recurring revenue number monthly that we had to hit.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best roles, the best starting roles someone looking to get into tech can possibly get into, especially like sales development where you're cold calling all
Yeah.
day. You're
Yeah.
basically just getting, calloused for rejection. And,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, that's so key. And the point I was trying to make previously is I always used to like, I don't know what it was, but some of my top performers at my previous company, business apps,
Hmm.
they had roles previously that they just deeply didn't enjoy for one reason or another. And then when they finally found something that, like, basically, I always tell people to work at a role maybe that they don't truly enjoy, because the next role that they get, it's like going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
at least it's
I
not
agree.
this place.
So there's something because like I have a friend who just graduated college who became an SDR. And like no one wants to be an SDR, right?
You got to pay your dues. You got
You
to pay
gotta
your
pay your dues.
dues.
But I told him, I was like, listen, you need to treat this differently than I did. Like I kind of got into the slog where I'm like, I hate this. But I didn't have like a long-term goal, which probably was painful for me at the time because I was like, this just sucks. Eventually I was like, I'm sweating, like this is miserable. But
You're
like
sweating.
it yeah, like that was the
Do you,
underlying
do you,
thing.
do you,
Like
do you have
button down
AC?
shirt.
Do you have AC on in your house right now? I'm guessing you do.
I do, but dude, this makes for a bad joke because I'm building out a part. We have a detached office, and it doesn't have AC right now, so I will start sweating. But
Nice.
um,
A fun fact
oh,
about me, I want to be when people, have you ever heard the term like FU, Rich?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My
Mark Cuban says that all the time. I don't wear a shirt because I'm FU rich.
Yeah, my definition of FU, Rich, is being able to run the AC all day, all year long. That's it.
Yeah,
I have an Italian wife, and she's like the Gazdecki family CFO. So AC for me, I don't have enough money yet, according to her,
Right,
to
right.
run the AC all day.
She's not
So
impressed.
yeah, so
That's funny.
I'm working at that. But let's transition over to the acquisition, man. So
Yeah.
you acquired a great product, hellomedian.com.
Hmm.
Do you want to maybe, explain what that is a little bit, and then we'll get into
Yeah.
the whole process of how all that went down?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack. But yeah, so and again, we can move into a 2 second demo, but I want to give you the verbal description, and then if you can help me, you can. I know you know what it is, but you can realign how I describe it, because one of the things that I've learned through this acquisition is like really understanding how to position it and like talk the language. But median is lit. I like to describe it as this new technology. It's been around for a while, but people don't know it exists. And it's screen share for your website at the really high end. But it's like I like to call it a combination of like Hotjar and Google Analytics, because what ends up happening, go ahead.
It's like Zoom without downloading it.
Yeah, it's like Zoom without downloading it, except that I say that and people are like, no, it's not, because it's not a conferencing platform. But what it is, and I'm going to just describe it. It's a snippet of code that you can cut and paste on your website, just like Drift, Intercom, Hotjar, whatever, Google Analytics. And when you paste it on your website, you can see everything your customers are doing, every single visitor. You can see mouse movements, scrolling, mouse type, keyboard strokes. You see everything.
Can I see the product really quick? Let's
Yeah.
see. Let's get a visual.
Are you on hellomedian.com? That was a trick
Um,
question. I know you're not. I'm watching the screen.
because do you want me to load it up?
Yeah, load it up so I can show you. So this is a prototype for anyone who's watching us. I've created a sandbox environment for this recording. But when Andrew hits the site, this is another software company that I own. It'll pop up that Andrew is on. Am I showing the right screen?
That's me. Yes, yo.
Yeah, you see, I gave him a referral link, so I know he's on the site. So we'll click him. And
What are some use cases?
so it's tough. That's what I'm struggling with right now. But we have like Nature Sunshine right here is an e-commerce website. This is my favorite case study, by the way. They legitimately, I think, are the future, and like this tech is like the future of e-commerce, because they're helping their customers check out. So this is a little confusing because I'm screen sharing your screen. So in our admin portal, our code uses HTML and CSS code over WebSockets to recreate everything that you're seeing. And so without you knowing, I'm watching you right now. Now, there's GDPR compliances that we have, and privacy, and
I
whatever
mean,
California has.
this is great for support teams, sales teams, even HR teams. I'm on like a job page and I just have a few
Yeah,
questions like, hey, saw you're looking at like the VP of sales role.
yeah, yeah,
Have you done door to door sales?
yeah. You ain't gonna kill it.
Like,
No. So let me answer that one then. So e-com websites are helping people check out. So front end sales. We have a handful of like insurance providers and people who deal with like tax and different documents that are doing like onboarding, like helping you fill stuff out. And then we have like majority of our
here,
customers, I would say like,
scroll
go ahead.
down a little bit too, so I can see
I'll scroll
more.
down for you. So we have this tool belt up here with a bunch of different tools. And you
Wait,
see,
holy
that's,
shit, am I scrolling?
yeah, you're scrolling.
This is me. So
That,
whoa, so I'm highlighting that.
so that's your cursor right there. That's you scrolling. And then I can put
Oh,
my
look, I can
cursor on
control
your,
the page.
this is
Oh.
your website, dude. You're on the site. Now I can, now watch, you're scrolling. Now I can take over. I
I
can take
need
over and drive for you.
dude, after this we'll talk. Maybe
So
we could probably use this on MicroQuire, dude.
you definitely can. So, and I think, by the way, for anyone who's listening to this, I sent him a free account the day I acquired the company. But so as he scrolls, I can see his mouse. I
And
can
just to
see him scroll.
clarify, I appreciate that. I've just been busy beyond words.
Trust me, I know you.
But
I love. You're my favorite person to follow on Twitter, and I don't know what kind of crap you're using, because I then see it on LinkedIn and see it everywhere. I get your
I
retargeting ads on Instagram. I saw you as a promotion on
honestly,
Beta List. You're everywhere.
I'll tell you my whole social media strategy. I just take out my phone, I just write. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
spend a lot
great.
of time, and then I just copy and paste it over LinkedIn.
You can, I'm not going to knock you, but you can kind of tell, mainly because like I've seen people who are trying to grow an audience do that, like the threads is like where everyone's going. But anyways,
Yeah, I usually just like you'll notice all my posts are from my phone.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I literally just write something and then just put it out. I don't
it's
worry
great.
about. I think that's the best way to, really use
It's
social
real.
is just write stuff that I just basically write stuff that I think would be interesting. And if people think it is, cool. If not, that's cool too.
Well, it's great too because you can like actually see the analytics. The problem that I have with maybe, and not necessarily you, but like Twitter is like I miss stuff that you post. Like I'm not on there 24/7. That's the problem with social. Like I'm literally like it's you almost gotta like subscribe to their notifications. But
Don't go on 24/7.
I don't.
That
But
sounds
like
unhealthy.
anyways,
All
so
right,
I'm gonna
let's
fly through this real quick. We've got a couple of buttons up here. So like you saw Andrew scrolling, you can choose to display your cursor. And so I can put my cursor on his screen. I can scroll for him. So on his screen, he's seeing me go up and
I'm seeing
down.
you scroll.
Here's his
So if
mouse.
I had a question, you'd be able to kind of walk me through this, and then
Yeah.
we'd have a video chat where I'd be able to speak to you directly.
So that was one of the things that I was excited about showing you today is we also have highlight so I can like pick what I want to show you and show you that. We have a draw tool.
You're in my computer, man.
Yeah, it makes people panic because they didn't know this tech exists. That's why I always tell them like I tell it.
Okay, this is big. All right, let's move towards
Hold on, let
just
me just say the last thing.
I want to hear the details, but okay,
All right. I'll just drop
sorry for
this.
interrupting.
No. You're good. I'm gonna drop this last thing that I think is an absolute game changer, and I already showed you a snippet of it. Video. We've this week we've moved into a staging environment. So that means it's coming into production probably in the next 30 days. Full video and audio screen share. So like on your website, you can hit a button, your face will pop up, and you can talk to people. No downloads, no installs. It's powered by an enterprise voice platform, Vonage, where I used to work. I have
Yeah.
executive level relationships from when I was sales there. That was like the benefit of being on DoortoDoor. Anyways, I had some connections, and so we got access to their video platform, and we integrated it with this. So now you can do everything you can do in Zoom on your website, and no download, no invite, all WebRTC, and you can
See,
just go right from there.
Zoom with the Zoom support, video support, or Zoom video support without the download.
Yeah, so let me ask you this before we get into the details of and I can stop the screen share. The details of the deal. How, now that you've seen it and everyone else has seen it, how would you pitch this? Like if you were explaining it to somebody, and here's a perfect example because you know how hard sales is, how would you write this in a cold email pitch? Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, so one thing I'd always tell my sales teams is we don't sell software, we sell solutions to problems.
Sure.
So I would deeply understand, I'd segment out because it sounds like you have multiple different customer personas that you can sell to. So that could be, so you need to find out like who the decision maker is.
Yeah.
Like you have the influencer, you have the decision maker, you have your champion, figuring out who those people are and who is in the most pain.
Yeah.
So like when I was leading the sales team at Spiff, we were trying to figure out who that person, who's in the most pain. And Spiff is a platform that automates sales commissions. And so surely enough, it was the person who's actually in the spreadsheets doing the commissions manually for
Right.
sales teams.
Mm-hmm.
So we targeted them and we would just ask simple questions. We just say, hey, do you like going back and forth on email over and over and over? Or would you prefer a 2-minute phone call? Or I'd ask a question such as, this is just off the cuff, like if I'm
Yeah, that's
trying to,
interesting because that doesn't have anything to do with Spiff, it seems like. The
no,
back and forth.
this is for your product.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So I'd
Nice.
say, like, hey, this is Sensor. 2-minute phone call is the equivalent of 100 emails back and forth. Would you agree? And then if they kind of bite on that, you can say, I've built a piece of software that essentially allows you to directly connect with customers without the back and forth email, or you're just asking questions. How much time do you currently spend? When you're able
Yeah.
to save people time and then drive that home. Like at Spiff, what we would do is we'd say, do you like calculating commissions? And we knew that no one would ever say, I love
No.
it.
Yeah.
We'd find the pain point and then we'd press it. So
Yeah.
we'd say, how much time are you currently spending? In your case, I'd say, hey, John, so good to, chat with you today. The first question I'd ask is, what was the reason for you taking the call? Because that spider webs you into multiple different directions. That gives you, are they interested in buying? Are they just looking around? Do they just take the call for fun?
Because they're polite.
Do they have an immediate need? So you get to understand where they are in the buying process, whether they're in the awareness, evaluation, just decision stage. And then based off of that, I'd ask questions that really try to pull out the pain, such as, I'm sure you guys are doing a lot of customer support over at Google. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then I'd ask questions like, do you feel like a lot of the questions that you're answering over email, go back? Do you have threads that go, over 20 emails by chance? And they'll probably say, yeah. And do you find that efficient? And they will most likely say, you want to ask for questions that outline the pain.
Yeah.
And then they agree with you. And so, because you're just confirming their pain, you're just kind of saying like, does your knee hurt? Do you like your knee hurting?
Let me do this one to you, Andrew.
What?
And I'm going to use your pitch against you a little bit. So hear me out.
Right.
How much time of your day, by the way, I know that this isn't the context of your podcast, but a lot of people who are listening to this, I think this is great.
This is great.
This is what I mean, I can give you context to all this, like more deep than you're willing to even want to hear, but let me hit you with your own pitch. So like I was listening to what you said. I'm excited for this. Okay, Andrew, how much of your day is spent in Crisp?
It used to be 3 to 4 hours. Now it's 0.
Okay. So that might not have been a great pain point.
But let's replay that.
But you see where I was going with it, right? Like
yeah, but then I'm automatically thinking I don't like being in Crisp for 3 to 4 hours a day.
Crisp is amazing, by the way, because I know the Crisp guys on Indie Hackers, and if they're listening to this, I'm a big fan. But
yeah, likewise, it's a great product. But yeah, I mean, sometimes just I'm a big believer that I tell this to my team all the time. If we start messaging like 3 Slack messages, just call me. Like, just call.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I'm not
same.
like, it's so much more efficient. So with Hello Median, the value where you can save people time, but then also deliver a better customer experience, because customers want questions answered instantly.
Yeah.
And also customers don't want to send 10 emails to get a simple question answered, when it could just be like a 1 minute, like, hey, I can't figure out my password and the reset password's not working.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's the link. And like, I don't know my username. And then instead it could be a video, you know what I mean? So you can play off those sort of pain points, but it's all about finding the pain points and then getting the people that you're speaking with to agree with those pain points, and then press on it and say, and then you paint the picture of the future where you say, and there's so many sales techniques, but sales is very simple. It's just basically find the pain, press on the pain.
Give them a solution.
Present a solution, but don't sell a solution, suggest a solution, a possible solution to the problem. So in your case, it could be, it sounds like you're spending 100+ hours a week with your team on email support. Have you ever thought about integrating, online video where your customers could talk to you directly and save hundreds of hours?
So,
and then
go ahead. No, I'm sorry to cut you off.
I mean, that's just kind of like the top of thought.
No, that's what we're doing. And I don't want to get into too much context of it, because I know you want to ask about the deal, but we basically realized that I went and interviewed all the customers that they had. And like that, you're going to find this funny. Like we're thinking about doing and I haven't put any effort into this yet, but doing a marketing campaign where a lot of these people I talked to, like I talked to the team at Yoast, ClickFunnels, like ShipStation, like a lot of these big companies who were either customers at some point or not. And I asked them what they're doing, and you're gonna laugh, Andrew. Outside of like a million messages, they're sending screenshots. So like I wanted to create an ad campaign around death to screenshots.
See, that's another, like, do you send a lot of screenshots?
Right. Yeah.
Like, how much time does that take you? You know, really figuring out, I think time, saving people time and
Yeah.
giving customers a better customer experience, like
Yeah.
reducing, we had this metric that we used to track at business apps of time to resolution.
Yeah.
So
It's
our
called
time,
MTTR, mean time to resolution.
yeah, so we had a MTTR. We called it something else, but it was
Oh,
like
okay.
it was like 4 minutes at the most. We had like a queue. We had phone support and email support and everything. So we would have loved this product at Business Apps 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right. I'm ready to
you
move on.
you move on to acquisition. Well,
Yeah.
let's schedule another call. I want to dive into this with you and, like, you
Well,
know,
I would love to, like, on this call, I mean, not on this call, but maybe on the next call, I would love to talk to you. And I think this would benefit everybody, mainly because it's just what I'm dealing with. But like, not everyone has a big marketing budget. And what I've found is like, if you can get some traction, you can start to understand, like, talk customers talk. And so that makes it easier to go to the next one. But you have to talk to a bunch of people. So like, I'd love to talk to you about like what we're doing for growth, which is like a cold email strategy and like how we found that perfect.
we've had a few calls. You gotta give me some credit. I'm happy to hop on another one with you.
All right. All right.
All right, so we'll schedule that after we finish this podcast. But tell me about the acquisition, man. Tell me,
Sure.
do you want to start with deal terms?
I mean, yeah, we can
Let's
start
just
with what you
let's
asked me
get
what you
right to
want to
it.
know. Yeah, you asked me what you want to know and we'll do it. So deal terms, um, found them on MicroAcquire. I found MicroAcquire because Product Hunt sent me to Indie Hackers. Indie Hackers, there was a guy on there that said I sold my no code database for $20,000 with zero revenue on MicroAcquire. I tried to go back and look up the post, I couldn't find it. And that's what got me to MicroAcquire. At the time, it was free. And when I signed up, there was like, I could my memory could be fuzzy, but there was like five businesses on there. And it was like the third time I signed in when I saw Median. But as far as the deal goes, you and I kind of have an interesting story here because I asked for more information. At the time, I think that was how it worked. Like you requested and you like gave a little blurb. I met Derek and Ben, who were the founders, and they showed me this. I was blown away, kind of like you just were. And I said, I got to have this. And so I, that night, Googled what an LOI was because I'd never heard of it. And I proceeded to write my own LOI. And you might remember a tweet that came after this that I DM'd you about.
So
But
we have all that templatized now. I remember this deal. I remember it. I remember the product coming in, and this is when we were first starting out.
yeah,
And I was like, this is a good product, and it's priced correctly.
yeah.
And I knew this was gonna have a lot of interest.
Mhm.
So okay, so deal terms. What was the final total price you paid
So the
for
price, I
Medium?
think, and I'm gonna give you a window within $5,000 because I don't exactly remember. I think it was 275, which was at the time 4x 4x revenue, not EBITDA. That was what they were asking.
Was that spread over multiple payments or all cash? How'd you do it?
So good question. Um, it was no, it was 75% upfront, 25% after 3 months.
Nice. And then, okay, so you agree on terms. You haven't wired the money yet.
Hmm.
Uh, you sign an LOI. Now you enter due diligence.
There's so much more drama. Do you want the drama or no?
No, give me like the high level, like the things you went over, maybe some tips for people
Tips.
looking at, acquisitions. What did you learn going through due diligence for the first time?
So we'll call them tips because I wrote this LOI, never written an LOI, never, I don't think even spoke to an attorney before.
I recommend speaking with the
Yeah,
attorney next time,
yeah.
or
That's
using
tip number one.
or use one of the templates next time. We have
So I
we have
wrote
all
it.
that streamlined now.
I wrote an LOI that had no teeth. It had no non-compete. And it was just because the template that I found had no non-compete. So I think they accepted my LOI. I was over the moon. I was like, this is insane. Like, I'm going to get this company. And then like 30 days went by and no knock on these guys. We were in the due diligence period, which I'd never been through and had no guidance on how to do it. And I got an email from the CEO of Median at the time saying that they're going to go with a different company, which I was shocked that you could do. But had their attorney review my LOI, which they accepted and signed and returned, but it had it had no non-compete.
The no compete clause, yeah, you can shop
So
it.
they weren't in the wrong by any means, and I just felt stupid. And so the other offer was 2x my offer, which was full price offer. And so I got really sad. I sent out like a tweet like I just lost a good deal, and then I DM'd you and was like, "Hey Andrew, this is funny because I said just a heads up, like." It might be beneficial to offer LOI templates on your website because I wrote
I
my own LOI and it
I
didn't go
I
so
I I
good.
I listen to feedback. I listen to
Yeah, you
feedback.
for sure your customers. It's important. And you were beyond generous because even after that, you introduced me to one of your friends who is like an attorney, and I had a call with him, and he gave me good advice. And he was going to represent me through the deal, but he was in California, and I needed a Texas person. So the long and short of it, the two people who wrote LOIs outside of my LOI fell through. They emailed me and said, "Are you still interested?" I said, "Yes." Yes, like crying in bed, like yes. And I said I could close in 30 days.
So what'd you
And
do? What'd you do in those 30 days? Give me the 60-second version of like
60 second, yeah.
what'd you look at? What were like, if you're gonna do due diligence in 30 days, what are your main like tips for buyers and sellers?
I wouldn't take my advice on this. I looked at their customer base and some of the deals they had done, and I'm like, I don't need to do due diligence on this. Like the software is clearly there. I mean, as far like I'm not a coder, I'm a sales guy. I don't know code. I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit of infrastructure from being in the MSP space, and so I had like no way to validate this at all. And I had a dev team in India at the time because I own another software company, and they looked at.
Customers are, I mean, that's about the most honest reviews you're gonna get. Like the
So
founder's gonna tell you everything's great, but customers are gonna really
yeah,
tell you.
so they had like I think 4 or 5 publicly traded companies under their belt, and like I know them, kind of
And
publicly
some
traded
big
companies.
names, some big
Yeah,
names.
and so when I
And
saw that,
if you get 50 more of those, man, this thing's gonna be worth like
yeah, so doing the due diligence process, I wasn't necessarily looking at the code. I was looking at what they said was real. So like the QuickBooks, I was looking at the NDAs that were signed. That's why I can't name those names. I was looking at the contracts. I was looking at the revenue they accepted from those contracts, and like basically everything they said checked out. So that was enough for me to say these guys. And you have a bunch of calls with people, and I gotta tell you, like, if you ever get the chance to work with Derek and Ben, like, they're just really great, honest guys, and like,
there. Yeah, and that's another key thing is just trust, with the seller, like especially having a period where you send funds, but you have a period of transition just in case you miss
yeah,
anything. So tell me about that. Tell me about how you transferred the assets. Did you just write everything down,
yeah.
transfer it over one by one?
So again, I'm not a techie. This was a bad look early on, but Ben is like the engineer, and he's probably one of the he might be the smartest engineer I've ever met, and I've met a lot. Like I say, engineer, like developers. I think he underappreciates how smart that he is. But anyway, so he basically said, "This is what you're gonna need," and it was kind of embarrassing because I did like a Zoom like we're doing now, screen share where he could control my screen, and he set up all the accounts. So he sent me invites to everything on the transition side. I created accounts, and then he went in there and like enabled the two-factor for me and like made sure I had Google Authenticator, like stuff that I
See
just didn't
that
know.
that's how important. Like I tell this to everybody is, the first thing you should do if you're really interested in acquiring a company, get on the phone with the potential seller, get to
Hmm.
know them.
Yeah,
Like, because if you can't get on the same page, like if me and you were going to do a deal and like, we're laughing and like, okay, I trust you, this is going to go
hmm,
well, that can be so critical because after, you bought the application, I'm sure there was some things you needed help with and they
yeah,
were there on your own, so to speak. Would you
yeah,
would you agree with that?
yeah. I mean, and I can show you scars. Yeah, like we build good relationship. Like and they know this. Like
tell me
I
tell
missed
me
them today. Like we had built a Slack channel where we would talk every day to the point where like it was not healthy for like what they were trying to do in terms of moving on. Like
Mhm.
I just had questions and needed help. And so we recorded all of our Zoom meetings. I have them stored in a library. There's a Notion doc for dummies, like how to not run median into the ground for dummies that Ben put together. And so they did a really good, I think they did a really good job handing stuff over. There was no like skeletons in the closet or anything. There's just, I mean, I could have been more prepared in terms of um, understanding, like putting someone in place to understand the infrastructure. That would be, it was more, it's so much more complex than I thought it was.
Nice. So just like a plug on resources, just because you kind of went in this like blind eyes. We have written resources and we created a whole course on, valuations, transferring assets, due
Mhm.
diligence, communicating with buyers, red flags, going through due diligence, everything you probably would have benefited from. Sorry, it took a little bit of time
No,
for me to
listen,
put
I'm
together a
a
team
diehard fan of what you're building.
I know you are because you're I can't announce it, but I will soon. But you know, what else we got? Um,
So, I mean, here's a couple of things that I would maybe give tips on. The transition of money for me, I mean, you got to figure that out on your own. I couldn't get bank funding, so I used a private investor or, I got funding on my own with a lot of my own money, and then it got backed by a private investor who ended up, helping me out there. And trust me, he's benefiting in his own right. And that's when we were able to do the wire. We got them the wire. We had a period of transition after they got the wire. So it didn't really feel like pop bottles right away necessarily, just because we had to then transition. Once the transition was done, we sent them the second wire. So they got all their cash on the dates that they were supposed to. I think they were over the moon with all of that. And then piece of advice that worked for us, and I think will work for anyone, is we put together a contract for hourly rate for like the next 6 months. So that was super helpful because we ran into things.
so if
That,
anything breaks, like
yeah,
that you have their support.
right. And it doesn't necessarily, like, I'm not going to say it break. Yeah, stuff happens.
Just
Let's just say
bugs,
that.
new features, just
Yeah.
and it's also just
Advice.
peace of mind too. Just
Yeah, onboarding new dev team, right? Like getting them all trained up. That was probably what I used the most. And so we just put together an hourly rate, and they put the original offer was like unlimited. They put a cap on like, hey, look at we're gonna do 10 hours or 20 hours a month of this and demand because they didn't want me buying 40 hours. Um,
nice.
a month. And that was probably like, I'm so glad I did that
Yeah,
because
that's
that was extremely helpful for me. And like, it's helpful for me, not just because I had them there, but like, it also tells me that like, they're not trying to run away, right? They want to see it succeed. And I think that was huge.
That's awesome. Well, Spencer, I think that's all I got. Anything else you'd add to the acquisition? So, $250,000 plus purchase, awesome product, multiple use cases, built by an awesome group of individuals that literally, when I saw the product, I was like, this could be used by many. I think you're gonna build this into like a multi-million-dollar business, man. I'm betting
Yeah.
on you.
My, you know how like you write down goals? Like I wrote down a million revenue in the next 12 months. And I'm gonna discredit that because like the first 6 months was like just understanding the product and the customers and building on it. But I know you have like the same goals. I've been following you with your journey, and I think we can both do this, and so I'm excited to just grow it and get it out there because I feel like a lot of people don't even know this tech exists.
Well, I'll definitely make sure to share this with as many people as possible.
I appreciate it.
Spencer, thanks so much for coming on this podcast. If people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I think Spencer Scott. I think my backslash is like S2 or Scott2SS or something like that.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well. Not as active as you necessarily, but I'm a creeper, more of a lurker. But if you DM me there, I'm there. LinkedIn. I'm putting a hard press on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be better.
You're awesome, Spencer. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. And congrats again on the acquisition.
No, thank you, dude. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So I want to say thanks. I owe you one.
Appreciate that. All right, cheers, bud.
Have a good one. Bye.